Before we begin today's story, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with this narration till the end. Because in this world, not every perfect love story is truly human. Some truths hide beneath the skin, waiting for the night to reveal them. Now, let's begin. Rosewood Ridge was the kind of quiet town where nothing extraordinary ever happened. People woke with the sun, worked honest jobs, and ended their days the same way, predictable, safe, small. Everyone knew everyone. Secrets rarely survived. Which is why the morning Doha arrived felt like the air itself shifted. Julia Hart rushed across the marketplace, balancing grocery bags and exhaustion. At 26, she carried more weight than her frame suggested, 2 part-time jobs, overdue bills, and the constant pressure of survival. She moved through life quietly, unnoticed enough that even her laughter sounded apologetic. She stepped out of the bakery, pushing hair from her face, when she saw him. A stranger. Tall. Impossibly composed. Standing beside a sleek black car that didn't belong anywhere near Rosewood Ridge. His presence silenced everything. Conversations paused. Children stopped running. Heads turned. His skin glowed under the morning light, smooth as carved stone. His eyes, deep gold, seemed to hold a strange shimmer that felt almost unreal. Julia had never seen him before. No one had. Their eyes met for only a second, but the world felt unnaturally still. He walked toward her, every movement controlled, elegant. "Excuse me," he said, voice low and smooth. "I seem to be lost. Can you help me?" Julia blinked, unsure if she had heard correctly. Men like him didn't speak to women like her. "Where are you trying to go?" she asked quietly. Instead of answering, he studied her face, deeply, intensely, as if memorizing every detail. "That depends," he murmured, a small smile forming. "Where would you like me to go?" A chill swept through her, not fear, not exactly. Something else. Something confusing, familiar in a way she couldn't place. She stepped around him, muttered directions, and walked away. But he watched her leave. As if he had been waiting for her. Within an hour, rumors spread like wildfire. "Who is that man? He looks rich. Crazy rich. No luggage. No driver. No explanation. He came from nowhere. And yet he behaved like he belonged." But the strangest detail was the same in every whisper. He noticed no one except Julia. At dusk, Julia returned to her small apartment. She unlocked the gate and froze. Doha stood by her door. His smile was soft this time, intentional, prepared, unsettling. "I hope you don't mind," he said. "I wanted to make sure you reached home safely." Her heart stuttered. "How did you know where I live?" He didn't answer. Instead, he held out a white rose, pristine, untouched, too perfect for ordinary soil. "For your kindness today." Julia had barely spoken to him. Her confusion tangled with something she tried hard to ignore. She took the flower. He bowed his head slightly and walked away, disappearing into the evening like a fading shadow. Inside, Julia leaned against the wall, trying to slow her heartbeat. Beautiful men didn't appear out of nowhere. Beautiful men didn't wait outside doors without explanation. Beautiful men didn't look at ordinary women like that. And yet she felt chosen. Seen. Lifted out of invisibility. The town buzzed for days. Some insisted he was a prince. Others swore he was an investor. A few whispered darker things. But everyone agreed. Doha was not normal. Over the next week, Doha appeared everywhere Julia went. At the bus stop. Outside her workplace. Standing quietly near the diner where she ate alone. He never approached unless spoken to. He never asked questions. He simply appeared like a shadow with patience. And Julia, against her better judgment, stopped feeling afraid. When he spoke, his voice softened her defenses. When he listened, she felt understood for the first time in her life. He looked at her like she mattered. Her friends warned her. "Julia, you barely know him. He's too perfect. That's not real. He's hiding something." But she brushed it away. Loneliness had a way of convincing you that danger felt like love. Soon, gifts appeared, expensive necklaces, luxurious dresses, rare flowers. She tried returning them, but Doha only said, "Some things already belong to you." Julia didn't believe the words. She wanted to. And then came the night that changed everything. Doha invited her to dinner, not in a restaurant, but on a hill overlooking the entire town. Lanterns lined the path. Rose petals circled a candlelit table. The stars felt brighter than she had ever seen. He looked at her with trembling sincerity, voice quiet. "Julia, when you find someone who feels like destiny, why wait?" And he knelt. Opened a velvet box. Inside, an extravagant ring. "Marry me." The world held its breath. Julia saw no red flags. No shadows. Only a man who adored her. "Yes," she whispered. And the wind carried the word like a promise. The wedding happened the next day, silent, private, without family or friends. The ceremony felt surreal, brief, spoken partly in a language Julia didn't recognize. Before she could ask anything, the ring was on her finger, and Doha kissed her hands with reverence. Within hours, he drove her to their new home, hidden deep within the forest, surrounded by towering trees that blocked sunlight. A mansion that looked carved from wealth itself, marble floors, endless hallways, staircases twisting into darkness. No staff. No footprints. No life. "Everything here is yours," Doha whispered. Julia smiled, but something in her chest tightened. This felt like a dream built too quickly. Then Doha gave her 2 rules. Never open the door at the end of the east wing. And never call my name after midnight. Julia tried to laugh. He didn't. "Promise me," he said. She did. Days passed gently, luxury everywhere, silence everywhere. Food appeared on tables without seeing who placed it. Clothes were cleaned without knowing who touched them. She never saw another living person. But the nights. The nights were different. At exactly midnight each night, Doha disappeared. No explanation. No footsteps. One moment beside her, the next, gone. The mansion changed with darkness. Shadows shifted like they were breathing. Something slid across the floors, slow and heavy. Walls whispered. Glass trembled. Julia heard slithering sounds, deep vibrations against the floorboards. And she stayed silent, remembering the rule. Never call him after midnight. Fear nested inside her ribs. Something was wrong. Something beyond understanding. On the 3rd night, she saw it. The reflection. Standing by the tall mirror, she froze when she saw not one reflection, but 2. Her reflection. And behind her, a towering serpentine shape, coiled and massive, gleaming scales the color of moonlit stone. She turned sharply. Nothing there. But in the mirror, it remained, watching, unblinking. She stumbled back, vase shattering around her. She blinked, and the reflection vanished. But the truth stayed. Doha wasn't disappearing. Doha was changing. And the man she married was not a man at all. Sleep never returned that night. Julia sat frozen on the cold floor, staring at the mirror like it might speak again. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. Her breath shook in uneven bursts. Every sound in the mansion scraped against her nerves like sharpened glass. Doha returned shortly before dawn, perfectly composed, as though he had merely stepped out to breathe. He lay beside her, pretending to sleep. But Julia felt the truth vibrating beneath his skin like a secret heartbeat. Her husband wasn't a man. He was something wearing the shape of one. The next morning, sunlight filled the mansion, exposing nothing suspicious, no scales, no shadows, no evidence. Doha kissed her forehead as always and asked if she slept well. She lied. She had no choice. Every instinct screamed to run. But where? How do you escape something that appears anywhere at once? She waited until he left for his meetings, then stepped outside to the only place she could think. The garden felt safer than inside the mansion, though the high stone walls reminded her she was already trapped. She needed help. A human voice. She called her closest friends, Mara and Talia. The moment Mara heard her voice, she gasped. "Julia, you sound terrified. What's going on?" Julia swallowed, fighting tears. "Something's wrong. I don't know how to explain it. Doha, he isn't who I thought he was. Do you feel unsafe?" Talia asked quietly. Julia's silence answered for her. "Talk," Mara urged. "Whatever it is, we are here." Julia told them everything except the mirror creature. She couldn't speak those words without shaking apart. The mansion, the silence, the rules, the nightly disappearances, the way Doha always appeared without a sound. When she finished, her friends didn't respond right away. Then Talia whispered, "Julia, have you heard the legends?" "What legends?" "Stories of men who aren't men," Mara continued. "Spirits. Shapeshifters. Ancient beings disguised as humans who choose women and isolate them." Julia's stomach dropped. "No," she whispered. "That's not real." "We are not telling you to believe it," Talia said softly. "We are telling you to be careful. Come stay with us," Mara pleaded. "Just for one night. Clear your head." Julia closed her eyes. One night. One chance. But she felt the mansion watching her already. "I'll think about it," she whispered. "Julia," Mara began, but the line cut. The phone signal died. The garden air grew colder. The mansion exhaled. She turned toward the windows, tall, black, unblinking, and felt eyes behind them. She wasn't alone. The hours crawled forward like wounded animals. Julia tried to distract herself, laundry, cleaning, reading, but every room felt wrong. Shadows clung to corners as though waiting for night. Mirrors reflected shapes she could not explain. The floors vibrated softly at random intervals, like something beneath the mansion was moving. Worst of all, she sensed Doha everywhere. His presence was a weight in the air, a heat against her skin, even when he was physically gone. By late afternoon, dread thickened inside her throat until breathing hurt. She paced the bedroom, staring at the clock. Every second pulled midnight closer. She needed a plan. Run when he transforms. Run when he's not human. Run when he can't follow. Her hands shook as she packed a small bag, passport, ATM card, charger, water bottle, one dress, the ring he gave her. She hesitated before sliding the ring inside. It still shone like devotion. But now it felt like a chain. She zipped the bag and hid it deep in the wardrobe. If she survived until night, she would have one chance. Just one. Doha returned at sunset. Julia heard him before she saw him, the soft click of the front door, the controlled rhythm of footsteps crossing marble. She forced her breathing to steady and stepped into the hallway. He appeared at the end of it, framed by golden evening light. Impossibly composed, impossibly beautiful. His smile soft, affectionate, tender. "Julia," he said. I missed you today. His voice wrapped around her like silk, danger disguised as warmth. Let's eat, he said. Just us. The dining table was already set, steak, wine, candlelight. A romantic illusion. Doha watched her too intensely as they ate. Every blink, every swallow, every tremor in her hands. You look different, he murmured. Like something is troubling you. Julia forced a small laugh. Just tired. Of what? He asked gently. She didn't answer. You don't have to be afraid of me, he whispered. Her pulse spiked. She hadn't said she was afraid. He leaned closer, his voice soft as breath. You trust me. Don't you? Julia opened her mouth, but no sound came. Doha smiled, but the smile didn't touch his eyes. Tonight, he said quietly, we talk. Honestly. No more distance. A coldness spread through Julia's spine, quiet, crawling, final. Tonight meant revelation. And possibly death. Julia lay beside Doha in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. She counted the seconds. 11:59 p.m., her heartbeat quaked through her ribs. 12 a.m., silence swallowed the mansion. Then, beside her, Doha's body changed. Not visibly. Not violently. But still horribly wrong. His breathing ceased. His chest stopped rising. The air thickened around them. Then, his eyes opened. Dead? Motionless. Glowing faintly. He sat up slowly, too smoothly for a human skeleton, then stood without looking at her, and walked out the bedroom door. Not one creak of the floorboards. The door closed softly behind him. Then she heard it. The slithering. Deep in the walls. Moving downward. Toward the forbidden door. Julia's hands shook so hard she needed both palms to cover her mouth to keep from crying out. She got up. Grabbed the bag. Ran. The mansion groaned like a living creature, as Julia sprinted down the hallway. Lights flickered violently overhead, painting the walls in frantic flashes. The forbidden door glowed from beneath, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then came a sound she would never forget. A long, low hiss. Not human. Not animal. Something ancient. Julia flew down the staircase, nearly falling, grabbing the railing before her knees buckled. She ran to the massive front doors, unlocking bolts with shaking hands. 1 lock. 2. 3. She shoved the door open. Cold wind hit her like freedom. But the gates were chained shut with thick steel links that hadn't been there before. Her breath shattered. She scanned the yard, nothing moved. Nothing except shadows stretching unnaturally long across the grass. She spotted the maintenance shed and ran, feet burning against the stone path. Inside, dark. Silent. Smelling like rust. She found the bolt cutters. And hope. She ran back to the gate, falling to her knees, hacking at the chains. Snap. The first chain fell. Snap. The second. Just one more. A voice vibrated through the night. Julia. She froze. Behind her, Doha stood at the edge of the shadows. But not entirely Doha. His body shifted subtly, bones bending under skin, muscles sliding, shape rippling, as if something beneath fought to emerge. His eyes glowed too bright, reflecting the moon. And his voice. His voice had 2 layers. Why are you running from me? Julia dropped the bolt cutters. Please, she whispered. Let me go. He took one silent step closer. You don't understand, he said. I chose you. I love you. Love doesn't trap, she whispered. Lightning split the sky. Thunder shook the ground. Doha's face tightened, not in anger, but wounded disbelief. "I warned you not to run," he murmured. Julia's fingers gripped the broken chain. Her only chance. She turned and shoved the gate open. The wind howled. The gate groaned. Her feet hit the dirt. Freedom. She made it 3 steps before stopping dead. Not because Doha grabbed her. Because he didn't. He stood perfectly still, watching her, not chasing, not threatening, not transforming further. Just watching with eyes burning like dying stars. "If you walk away," he whispered, "you will never understand the truth. And you will never know what hunts me." The storm winds roared. Rain tore through the night. Julia trembled. "Why me?" His voice broke. "Because I was alone for centuries, until you." He stepped back, not toward her, but away. "No chains. No force. No magic," he said quietly. "Choose for yourself." The storm paused, hanging in the air like held breath. Julia looked at the open gate. At freedom. At everything she knew. Then she looked back at him. The monster. The husband. The stranger who had saved her once and destroyed her peace forever. Her heart split in two. After a long, agonizing silence, she stepped back inside the gate. "I'm not staying because I trust you," she whispered. "I'm staying because I need answers." Doha exhaled like a man waking from death. "You will have them," he said softly. "Tonight." He offered his hand. After a long hesitation, she placed hers in it. Cold sparks shot through her skin. Doha led her back toward the mansion, to the forbidden door, now wide open, swarming with shadows that bent like living smoke. The storm raged. The door shut behind them. Darkness swallowed everything. And the screen fades to black. The truth was only the beginning. The forbidden room swallowed them whole. Julia stepped across the threshold, and the temperature dropped instantly. The air smelled like stone and rain. The walls shimmered with symbols burned into black marble, ancient, jagged markings that pulsed with faint green light. Candles lined the floor, forming a circle around something massive covered by a dark cloth. The shape was long, coiled, heavy enough that the floor beneath it bowed slightly. Julia froze. Every instinct screamed to run. Doha released her hand gently. His voice was low and steady. "Whatever happens next, do not move away from me. Fear turns the truth into monsters." She didn't answer. Fear already built a cage around her lungs. Doha stepped into the candle circle. His shadow stretched unnaturally across the walls, bending as though something within him shifted. "There is a world older than yours," he began. "A world before cities, before governments, before written language. A world ruled by beings who were half spirit, half creation. Warriors. Protectors. Guardians." His voice trembled. "We were born to defend life from things far darker." Julia stared, shaking. "We?" Doha nodded. "My kind lived for centuries unseen, hiding in forests, mountains, oceans. We shape-shifted to survive. We blended into human life when necessary. But something changed. Humans began to fear what they couldn't understand. They hunted us. Captured us. Experimented on us." His gaze darkened. "They destroyed nearly all of us." Julia's breath caught. "And you survived." "Barely," he whispered. "I watched my brothers torn apart. I watched humanity turn to greed and violence. And for hundreds of years, I lived alone, hunted, cursed, waiting to die." He swallowed hard. "Until the night I found you." Julia blinked fast. "Why me?" "Because you didn't look away," he said. "The night I first saw you, you were helping an old woman in the rain. You held her hand even when others walked past. You chose kindness when no one was watching. His voice cracked. I had spent centuries hiding from humanity. But in you, I saw something worth believing in again. Julia's throat tightened painfully. Before she could speak, a tremor shook the mansion. The candles flickered violently. The ancient symbols burned brighter. Doha stiffened. They are close, he whispered. Julia stepped back. Who? The ones who killed my brotherhood, he said. They found me. They've been searching for me for years. And when I disappear at midnight, I'm fighting them. Every night. Alone. Julia stared in horror. All the nights he vanished. All the sounds she heard. All the rules. They weren't protecting him. They were protecting her. And the mirror, she asked, voice shaking. What did I see? Doha hesitated. The shift is harder to control near the moon. My form bleeds through reflections. You weren't supposed to see it yet. Julia looked toward the covered shape in the candle circle. What's under that? Doha slowly reached for the cloth. Proof. He pulled it away. Underneath lay the massive body of a serpent, scales dark emerald, glistening like polished stone. Its size was monstrous, ancient, terrifying. But the eyes, those golden eyes, were unmistakable. Julia staggered backward, tears burning her vision. It's me, Doha whispered. My true form. Silence crushed the room. Julia pressed a shaking hand over her mouth. Why pretend to be human? Why marry me? Doha stepped closer, slowly, carefully. Because I was dying. And your presence, your voice, your touch, they healed what centuries of violence destroyed. You made me stronger. More human. You brought me back from extinction. His voice softened. And I loved you before I even knew what the word meant. Julia's tears spilled freely now. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered. Because I was afraid, he answered. Afraid of seeing fear replace love in your eyes. Afraid you'd run before you understood. The mansion trembled again, harder, violent, shaking dust from the ceiling. A roar ripped through the air, nothing human. The candle flames burst outward, bending toward the walls. The symbols around them pulsed like veins. They are here, Doha said sharply. Julia's body locked. Who? She gasped. The hunters, Doha answered. The ones who want to finish what they started. Thunder cracked the sky like a violent drum. Outside, blinding white light swept across the windows, search lamps. Helicopter blades thrashed the air above the mansion. Heavy footsteps pounded against the forest floor. Men shouted orders through megaphones. Julia's heart lunged into her throat. How did they find us? Doha's jaw tightened. Your phone call. They track fear. They listen to desperation. They feed on it like wolves. Julia covered her mouth, breath breaking. I didn't know, she whispered. I didn't mean to. I don't blame you, Doha said, voice steady. You're human. You reached for safety. Anyone would. A deafening blast rocked the wall behind them, metal splitting, stone cracking, alarms shrieking. The house shook violently. Doha seized her shoulders gently but urgently. You need to hide. Now? No, Julia cried. I'm not leaving you. Not like this. His eyes glowed brightly, warm, resolute, full of something painfully genuine. If they take you, he whispered, you'll suffer a fate worse than death. They want me, but they'll use you. Torture you. Force me to watch. Julia shook her head violently. I don't care. I'm staying. The windows exploded inward. Armed men stormed the mansion, armored suits, electric spears crackling with energy, masks with glowing red visors. They advanced like demons in steel. "Stand down," one shouted. "Surrender the serpent." Doha stepped forward, shielding Julia with his body. "You will not touch her." His voice was no longer soft. No longer human. It vibrated with thunder, shaking the walls. The hunters raised their weapons. Energy bolts fired. Doha grabbed Julia and threw her behind a stone pillar just as a blast struck him, electricity tearing through his body. He roared, half man, half creature, and fell to his knees. Julia screamed, crawling toward him. "No, Doha." He lifted his head, eyes blazing with agony and love. "Run. I won't leave you. You must." His voice split, layered with the serpent beneath. "I can protect you from hunters. But not from yourself." Julia reached for him, sobbing. The hunters closed in, weapons aimed directly at his chest. Doha whispered with his last breath of strength. "I chose you because you were strong. Prove me right." Julia's heart shattered. The hunters lunged. Julia grabbed the candle circle knife and leaped to her feet. "I'm not weak," she whispered. She stepped in front of Doha, body shaking but unbroken. "Move," one hunter barked. "We won't warn again." Julia raised the blade, voice trembling but fierce. "You'll kill me first." The leader laughed. "Then die." He fired his spear. But before the bolt struck, a massive force exploded through the room. Candles burst. The ground shook. The air warped like bending glass. Doha's roar ripped through the mansion, ancient, thunderous, world-splitting. His body shifted violently, bones cracking, skin splitting, scales emerging. The serpent rose, towering, monstrous, magnificent. The hunters stumbled back in terror. Julia stood beneath him, small but fearless. For the first time, she wasn't afraid. "For centuries," Doha thundered, "I ran from you." His tail slammed into the floor, shattering marble. "Tonight, I stop." Lightning surged across his scales like living fire. Julia looked up at him, her husband, her monster, her truth. And something inside her changed. She wasn't prey. She wasn't trapped. She was chosen. And she chose back. She stepped forward and placed a hand against his scales, warm, alive, powerful. "I'm with you," she whispered. "Always." Doha's eyes softened, the serpent and the man merging in the reflection. The hunters screamed, charging with weapons raised. Doha coiled around Julia, ready to fight. And the screen cuts to black.